Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast, traders. As always, we will begin with the DXY, the US dollar, because it is the most important one to go over. So do not skip this. So I went ahead and I drew the overall monthly supply zone. If you look, the supply zone inside is the weekly supply zone, and the overall zone that's a little bit lighter red, that is the monthly supply. And if we zoom in, we contacted the monthly supply and we rallied out. We just missed the weekly supply zone. And I want to say it is possible, maybe the big players, they have, they want to push price lower below 100 on the dollar, but it is possible they want to push price up to supply first, get more shorts before they do that. So this move is possible, but honestly, since the past couple weeks, all signs have really been, pointing to the downside here on the DXY. On the daily chart, you can see nice push down. We did remove a previous daily demand that was located at about 104.10. That left us with daily supply at 106.92. And there's really just not a lot of stuff going on here. So, if price does continue to push up here, we easily, in my opinion, could get up to this supply and rally off of it. I think we might hesitate around this area, around the 105.50 area. I think we could hesitate here, maybe even break down instead of pushing up to here. So this is an area I'm watching, and then for the real supply, it is above. So a couple daily zones I'm seeing only if, we start to push up on the DXY. And actually on the 1 hour chart, you can see we have a very nice 1 hour trend to the upside, looking really, really good. And we have a 1 hour demand zone down below with a little bit of a support and resistance area, or support rather, right before our demand. So this is a kind of a liquidity trade that we like to call, using liquidity with our supply and demand zone. That's really, really powerful. But what we want to be monitoring to suggest what's going to happen on the dollar pretty much is this 1 hour trend line to the upside. As long as this trend line's holding, I think looking for longs and US dollar pairs is going to be fine on like a 5-minute and even a 1-minute time frame, as long as this 1 hour trend line's holding on the DXY. However, even if let's say we break this 1 hour trend line, that's fine as well, because we have this pretty quality demand zone at 103.73 that we could easily see move off of with some sort of trend line fake out like that. So until we can break that demand zone, I'm going to be basically remaining pretty bullish here on the DXY. And we have profit margin at least to the upside, at least to this little hidden base drop 4 hour supply that's located at 104.95. I think we could easily hesitate around here. But like I said, we have higher time frame supply zones above, and usually price will react off those better. So this could just be like a temporary pause before we push up back to that daily supply, which I was talking about earlier. So pretty much on the dollar, we are watching this 1 hour trend line to the upside, seeing if that can hold. And then our next stop really is the 4 hour supply at 104.95, where we can then, hesitate, maybe get a small move to the downside before eventually pushing up to the 106.92 area. And like I said on the 1 hour chart, if we break the demand zone and we create a 1 hour downward trend line, then that's fine. Then clearly this daily downward momentum is going to continue to hold, and then we can continue to look for shorts on the US dollar. And it doesn't mean you can't look for shorts on the US dollar right now. It just means based on the DXY, the 1 hour trend of the upside is looking strong. So longs are technically higher odds, but you're going to see throughout this forecast that longs aren't the only thing that's possible here for the US dollar. On to the forecast for the Euro US dollar. You can see we have pretty much our liquidity area up here, clear area of resistance. We are pushing up to that area. I'm not saying we're just going to continue to go up. It could be possible we are going to pull back first and then rally up. But I think we will be targeting this liquidity up here, in my opinion. Either that, or if we continue to push down, we'll be targeting this weekly demand zone. But honestly, we're going to be sticking to the lower time frames here. But just obviously the opposite of the DXY, the daily demand is down below, right? We noticed that on the DXY where we had the daily supply above. This is the opposite. This is our daily demand zone that could be a good target buying opportunity. I know that's a large pullback. I'm going to show you more setups, what you can be doing to trade right now. I'm just pointing out the long-term perspective as well. On this 1 hour chart, you definitely could be monitoring this 1 hour downward trend line. As long as this downward trend line's holding, I think looking for shorts on a 5-minute chart is completely fine. Now, I'm a supply and demand trader. If you want to look for trades, however you trade on a 5-minute chart, that's fine. You definitely can do that, whether it's support and resistance, chart patterns, whatever you want to do, that's fine. There's not one way to trade. I'm not going to say, oh, supply and demand is the best. I'm not that kind of trader, so because that's all not right. So however you like to trade, as long as this 1 hour downward trend line is holding, 5-minute time frame shorts are going to be pretty damn good, in my opinion. So watch that 1 hour downward trend line. And we have clear profit margin to this little hidden rally demand zone at 1.07. So I think it's a good little demand zone to get a potential dip buying long trade below all this liquidity here. So I think it's a great zone. If you are bullish, that would be the nearest zone I'd have on my charts. If we continue to break down even further, we do have one all the way down at 105.4. decent zone there as well. There is a little hidden one here, but I don't have that based off of my chain analysis. I'm not going to get into detail there. So yeah, we're pretty much waiting for this demand zone to hit. We got to pull back to this demand zone, got a quick 2-to-1 trade off that zone before we ended up breaking it. So now we are just simply waiting for the new 4-hour zones down there that are still fresh. Now, if you're bearish, this supply zone isn't great, but if you're bearish, you think, hey, Kevin's wrong, we're going to continue to go down. That's fine. We have a 4-hour supply zone here at 1.09. We could see a move off of that supply zone if you are bearish. And as always, if you don't feel comfortable just with an entry here and a stop loss and take profit, you could always be looking for confirmation trades inside of those zones as well. So a couple 4-hour supply zone there and a couple 4-hour demand zones here on the euro that you could be looking for to trade. And if you're looking at day trade right now, we have a nice 1-hour downward trend line. So you definitely could be day trading short that downward trend line with profit margin down to the nearest 4-hour demand zone that I was just pointing out here on the Euro USD. On to the forecast for gold. Looking at the weekly chart first here, really no signs of it slowing down. It's really unfortunate we haven't got a significant zone like this with a large move away. That's what we are looking for with supply and demand. That is what I was hoping we could get here, but I don't really see that until all the way down here. So it's very unfortunate. If we do start to get a deeper pullback, it's like, where are we pulling back into? I really don't know. That's kind of the big issue I'm having, but honestly, it's looking really darn good here on gold. The daily upper trend line is very good as well. So make sure you copy this trend line on your charts. We do kind of have a little demand zone here. I'm going to draw it now that I'm looking at it again. It's decent. I usually like to have my zones a little bit bigger. I'm not going to get a detail why not, or why and why not, but I feel comfortable drawing this demand zone. So honestly, if we do start to see a deeper pullback on gold, that is certainly where we could get a pullback down to 29.40 for a nice little dip buy at that daily demand zone. And if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. I do these weekly Forex forecast videos every single week, so it'd be much appreciated to hit that like button and subscribe and share with friends. So nice little daily zone there. We certainly want to be monitoring this trend line as well. As long as that trend line's holding, it's going to be higher odds to be looking for longs. However, over here on the 1-hour time frame, we certainly have lost momentum here. We lost momentum initially when we broke this little demand zone here. That demand zone was broken. We now have a 1-hour supply zone, and again, these are what the higher time frames look like. A very, very clear trend to the upside. So anything against that trend, obviously it is counter trend, and that is fine. I'm not saying you can't trade counter trend. I'm just saying it's a little bit higher risk. But if you think gold's pulling back and we've kind of hit the high here for a little bit, this is our 1-hour supply zone short. That is the only thing I would be doing for shorts right now at $3,030 an ounce. So a nice little base drop supply zone. Look at the move away. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Very, very strong move away from here all the way down to there. Very, very aggressive. I like it. As far as the supply zone goes, it's pretty much as good as it gets. So if you are bearish, that is our highest odds supply zone short. If you are like me and you want to get in long, honestly, the only situation I'm seeing right now is to wait for that daily demand zone to be hit that I was just talking about on the daily chart, or we wait for this supply zone to be taken out. And if it gets taken out by a demand zone, I will have that on my charts and we could look for longs off of that demand zone. I'm just not seeing that right now. That is why I do the analysis throughout the week for the members and everything. So that's what I'm waiting for longs, waiting for that potential trade to happen. But we need to see this supply zone first. But it doesn't mean we can't get a little 1-to-1 counter trade or 2-to-1 counter trade before we push up. So a good little supply zone there. It's as good as it's going to get for a counter trend setup. That's what we could be waiting for. And then, like I said, monitor the daily trend as well and pullbacks down to the daily demand if we continue to see price go lower here on XAUUSD on gold. On to the forecast for the USDJPY. Looking at a weekly chart here first. Not a lot to go off of, right? The overall trend is just kind of sideways. There's really not a lot to go off of. We do have a lot of weekly downward momentum here. I would agree. It's looking really, really weak. Removing demand. We kind of have some liquidity down here that I think we could be targeting, and the profit margin as far as the near term is really visible here on the daily chart. Momentum is certainly down here. Some people might call this a downward trend. I don't. I'm not going to get into detail why not. But if you want more detail on things like that, check out the video we just did, a full supply and demand trading course here on YouTube. It's over an hour and a half long with so much details and information if you need help trading the supply and demand methodology. That video is for you. We go over a supply and demand trading PDF, which is fantastic. But anyways, On the daily chart here, tons of profit margin to the downside to this daily demand at 143.95. So that is something we certainly, could be trading. As far as a 4-hour chart goes, doing a little bit of a top-down analysis, I don't have a lot of analysis here. We did break the trend line. That trend line was broken. I don't have any demand here. Don't really have a lot to go off of here on the 4-hour chart. A lot of sideways action here as well. I'm very picky with how I draw my zones. You guys will see if you subscribe and continue to watch. I'm very picky with how I draw my zones, and usually that's a pretty good thing. And over on the 1-hour chart, it's a very interesting chart. We pushed up. First of all, we had a supply zone up here at 149.88. It's a very nice supply zone. It removed an upward trend line. Nice basing. Look at the move away. Fantastic move away. Absolutely love it. Pushed up, almost hit it, pushed down. Now we have liquidity here. In my opinion, we have a resistance area. So I'm hoping we could see more moves off of it like this, push up, then hit the supply. I think it's a great supply zone to look for a potential trade to the upside off of that zone. Now, over here for the demand side, we have a liquidity area down here as well with a demand zone from back here. This demand zone also removed a trend line, a nice little rally base for that demand zone. Certainly not as high quality as this supply based off of the moves away, but it is a good demand zone. So you definitely could be playing both sides of that. You could definitely be playing the demand side and the supply zone. So a couple good potential trading setups here on the USDJPY. And if you guys want to trade confirmation with them, that is something we will be looking for during the daily market breakdown videos, which are videos that I release for forecasts for the members throughout the week. If you want to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership for exclusive access to our daily market breakdown videos and catch trades like these. Plus, dive deep with our full-length forecasts covering 26 plus markets, our interactive Sunday Zoom sessions, and personal homework to sharpen your strategy. And you'll also join our private Discord group for direct access to me and unlock a complete library of A to Z video lessons to master supply and demand trading. Don't miss out. Let's level up your trading. Links are in the description down below. On to the forecast for the GBPUSD top-down approach here. Weekly supplies in control. Not really a significant move to the downside just yet, but we are hesitating at this supply. Now, the big question is, are we hesitating to get a next leg up, or are we hesitating because supply is in control and we are going to push down? The only way to really know if that's going on is to look at the lower time frames. On the 1-hour chart, we had nice trends to the upside. Those trends are now removed. And not only that, we have significant demand. This was a significant demand zone, in my opinion, pretty easily removed. So in my opinion, this is looking really, really weak here on the British pound. What I want to be monitoring still is this 4-hour trend line to the upside. It kind of got away from us up here, but in my opinion, looking at this overall market, it's looking pretty good. So I want to still monitor this trend line. Since the weekly supply is in control, how do we know if price is going to push down? We need to be monitoring this trend line. It's very, very simple. So for our confirmation trade, to get in short at that weekly supply, we need to basically see a push down to this trend line, boom, break the trend line, and if we have a supply zone there, that is our confirmation entry model on the British pound. It's really that simple. So that's what we could be waiting for here on the British pound. The trend line is technically holding. It's not my favorite trend line, but if you're bullish and you think, hey, Kevin's so wrong, that weekly supply, he pointed out, it sucks, we're going to continue to push up. The only way I continue to get in long is if this trend line is holding. So you're going to want to monitor that trend line for longs as well. And that is really about it here on the British pound for the time being. On to the forecast for the USDCAD, the country I am from. Let me know where you guys are from in the comments down below. So on the weekly time frame here, a lot of sideways action, but overall you can see my upward arrow that indicates the upward trend. So yes, we are hesitating here, but the overall trend is up. So we just want to, keep that in mind. And on the daily chart here, a lot of sideways action, not a lot to go off of here. We don't really have any fresh supply above or any fresh demand down below. So there's not a lot to go off of on the daily chart. This is why this is not one of my favorite pairs to trade right now. And the only setup I'm really seeing right now is this supply zone short up here at 1.462. And we have a resistance area right before. So I hope we can get another move off this resistance, push up to supply, and get a move off of that supply zone. That is what I would like to see. Another option is waiting on this 4-hour chart. If we can break this low down here, we will have a nice 4-hour downward trend line, which means you could be day trading short a 15-minute time frame to the downside. Now, if we break the high up here on the 4-hour chart, then we could be looking for longs on a 15-minute chart because we could be trading the 4-hour trend. So basically just waiting for the sideways action on the 4-hour chart to kind of break out of that. If you look, it's very obvious what's going on. we are just basing out. So we need to either wait for a breakout to the upside or a breakout to the downside to know which direction to trade with on the lower day trading timeframes. If you don't want to do that, we just need to wait for supply above at 1.46. That's really the only fresh zone that I am seeing right now on the USDCAD. On to the forecast for the AUDUSD. Looking at the daily time frame here, we failed to break that daily high, and that kind of is unfortunate because that would have given us a very nice looking daily upward trend line here, but we did not make a new high, and that is certainly a requirement for a trend line. I don't know who you guys are learning trend lines from, but that is definitely a requirement. So we failed to make that high. Push price down. It's very difficult to tell what is going on and where we are going based off this daily chart. But luckily, on the 4-hour time frame here, we had a nice 4-hour trend to the upside, and we could have been looking for longs to the upside on day trading timeframes as long as that upper trend line was holding. But all of a sudden, we broke the trend line. Boom. And that trend line was broken by this little supply zone. On the 4-hour chart, it's a rally base drop supply zone. Very nice move away, two very big red candles at 0.634, and that is our potential supply zone short. So if you're a bearish, that is a great supply zone to get a potential trade to the downside off of that zone. So definitely have that one on your charts. Now what you could be doing in the meantime is, as long as this 1-hour downward trend line is holding, you definitely could be looking for longs on a 5-minute chart. That is another option. And then always, guys, you could be watching these trend lines, and if it breaks and we have a zone there, then you could trade that zone. So throughout the week, that is what you could be doing, and that is basically what I'm doing throughout the week as well. I'm monitoring these trend lines to see what removes it, what doesn't remove it, and just so we can trade the zones that break. I'm just not seeing anything on this chart right now. That is why you could be day trading short. Like I said, that 4-hour supply zone there is looking pretty darn good. And overall, on the weekly time frame over here, the trend and momentum is to the downside. That is why I also like that 4-hour area of supply. So in the meantime, 5-minute time frame shorts with the 1-hour downward trend line and pullbacks up to the 4-hour supply are both good here on the AUD/USD. On to the forecast for the USD Swiss franc here. Clear daily downward momentum. We will definitely not deny that. We have a lot of fresh zones, right? We have 1, 2, 3 fresh supply zones, and we have a fresh demand zone all on the daily time frame. Where is momentum? It's clearly to the downside, right? However, it doesn't mean we won't get a pullback to a couple of these supply zones. So these are 2 daily supply zones you want me to have on your charts at 0.887. If we push up to them, it's definitely best to maybe hold off on potential long trades, that's for sure. If you're bearish, that's when you can look for confirmation trades in there as well. We have a level on top of level. So a couple daily supply zones. If we push up, don't be too bullish, right? Until we can remove these supply zones, you can't be too bullish. And it is certainly possible we just see a push up to the daily supply, a reaction to push down to the daily demand. So we're going to be monitoring the lower time frames to suggest what is going to take place. Now, in my opinion, well, first of all, on the 4-hour chart here, we did create a trend line. So just going to do a little bit of live analysis here for you guys. So that 4-hour downward trend line was removed. Why was that a downward trend line? Because we made that lower low there. That downward trend line was removed by this area of demand down at 0.877. So if you are bullish, if you think, hey, this is the end of a trend, yes, we broke the trend line. It's not super bullish yet. However, we did create a demand zone. And if you are bullish, you think, hey, this is the end of the trend. We are going to push up now on the Aussie US dollar. This is our potential demand zone long trade at 0.877. It's a good demand zone. We have clear profit margin to the upside, so it could be well worth the risk. And always, if you want the extra confirmation, just look for confirmation on the day trading timeframes. That's fine, but it is a good demand zone, just kind of on its own. And there's a 1-hour demand zone that's kind of inside of it as well, but I'd be mostly focused on that 4-hour demand zone. If you look at the profit margin, right, my top right screen, I'm taking my risk reward tool, I'm adjusting it. Now I'm looking, that is up to the daily supply. So the daily supply is right here, which is the daily supply from over here. And that is where we could start to see price turn around. So the profit margin you have is over 3-to-1. So it's offering over a 3-to-1 take profit for this trade on the USD Swiss. Could definitely be worth it. And look, if it breaks to the downside, right, that's fine. Then we could be shorting down to the daily demand. So again, we're going to lose trades, right? So it's all revolving around this 4-hour demand zone, right? It's worth the trade, right? Maybe we win, maybe not, maybe we lose. Now we're down -1%, but maybe it creates a 4-hour supply zone. We short at that supply zone, boom, 3-to-1 take profit hit. Now we're up 2%. That is what trading is. It's a probabilities game, and right now that's really the only zone we should be focusing on here on the USDCHF. Last but not least, we are on to crude oil. So looking at my 4-chart layout, just want to point out the weekly and the daily chart, all signs are pointing to the downside really, but on the two charts on my right, we have upward trends. So it's kind of a confusing time, but it's more important that we look at the higher time frames. And look, yes, we have a weekly downward trend. We were into a weekly demand, but look how tested this weekly demand is so much. And when it's tested like that, it actually almost becomes stronger in a way, which I hate to say that, but it's just clear area of clear buying down here. I don't like trading at tested demand zones, but we clearly could be pushing up to the downside or to the upside. You know, I will not deny that. So we have a couple of options here. On the crude oil chart, you can see I have a nice 4-hour trend to the upside. We certainly could be day trading long that upper trend line on a 15-minute chart, as long as that trend line is holding. And we have a 4-hour supply zone above that is fresh. Yes, it was a reaction off of this supply zone above, and this is a supply zone we called out in the daily market breakdown video from a couple weeks ago, so you can go back and watch that as well. But we created a new supply off of that supply at 69.67, so we certainly could see a move off of that 4-hour supply zone there on crude oil. And like I said, as long as this trend line is holding, longs are fine. But then once we hit the supply, then you either want to take profit or just get aggressive with your stop loss. Maybe you want to bump your stop loss from break even up into the green so you lock in profit just in case we push down. But it's also possible we continue to push up, right? And then you just keep bumping your stop loss above with it, right? So just want to point out the profit margin is to that 4-hour supply, and I think it's a great area to look for a potential short trade, especially since the higher time frame trends are down. And another thing, on the 1-hour chart here, we just removed two pretty quality supply zones. That left us with a demand zone at 67.31. So if we do get a pullback down to this 1-hour demand zone, I think it's a fantastic buying opportunity as well. It's a little bit of a trend line liquidity here as well. People are buying the trend line, stop losses below, right into our demand zone. Boom, what a trade. So a nice little drop base rally. Look at the move away from this demand zone. That is what we talk about in that supply and demand trading course video that I just dropped. That's over 1 hour and 30 minutes long. That is what is in the supply and demand course PDF that I have for the members as well, which is what we talk about in that video. These massive moves away. These are the best zones. Could this zone fail? Yes, just because it's a great move doesn't mean it's going to work 100%. But in my opinion, that is the highest odds buying opportunity right now on crude oil at 67.31. You could also be monitoring this 1-hour trend to the upside. As long as that's holding, 5-minute time frame longs are good. So we need to monitor this 1-hour trend. We need to monitor the 1-hour demand zone to look for longs off of that zone. And we need to monitor the 4-hour trend line as well to know which time frames we could be trading long at. And then we need to monitor the 4-hour supply zone above, which could act as our profit margin if we do get in long at this zone. If we do get in long with these trend lines, that is our profit margin. So we need to monitor that 4-hour supply as well. And then you could even get a trade off that 4-hour supply here on crude oil. If you want to watch the full-length forecast and get my daily chart analysis and daily market breakdown videos, join the Diamond membership. Links are in the description down below.